Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, which means it's another A Moment of Hope with Upward Transitions. This morning, I am so grateful to have Whitney from a Dragonfly Home with us. Good morning, Whitney.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Of course.
We had your colleague Melissa with us a few weeks ago, and we are so excited that Dragonfly Home is our partner in a new grant and some new work we are doing to support survivor victims of human trafficking. And so we're just excited to continue this conversation and education about human trafficking and learn more about Dragonfly Home. So tell us a little bit more about what Dragonfly Home is and how you got started with that and all of those kind of things. Kind of follow up to what Melissa shared.
Well, that's a lot, but I'll turn it in. So Dragonfly actually operates a state-certified crisis center where we serve victim survivors of human trafficking, both sex and labor trafficking, all genders. And we really work to meet the survivor where they're at and meet their individual needs. And so that can be sometimes like emergency relocation. That can be specialized case management, trauma-focused therapy. It can be helping get GEDs, education, employment. So you name it, we try to really meet those needs of individuals who've been exploited for sex or labor here in Oklahoma. I can talk a little bit about how I got into this if you want.
I would love to hear that. Yeah.
So I'll pare down the longer version of the story, but I was actually working in the corporate business world, and I was just I was wanting something more. And so I make decisions based on my faith, and I was praying about direction, and I started pursuing my master's in business. And so one of my professors had me research like supply chain transparency and outsourcing of labor. And I was researching work in Honduras, and I really discovered the overlap between like labor exploitation and modern day slavery, labor trafficking.
Yeah.
And I just knew that my whole life was going to change. I didn't know how, but I couldn't believe that slaves existed in the world today. And so, long story short, I went on a mission trip to Africa and worked with survivors there for a short time, was inspired by their resilience and strength, and then started volunteering almost full time for a nonprofit here in Oklahoma. And that's where I met my two colleagues who we helped found the Dragonfly Home. So I've just been just continually inspired by individuals who've survived this crime and the hope that can happen afterwards. Everything that can be achieved after a trafficking situation. Mm. That's a super short version. I'm proud of myself.
Well, I have a personal mantra that, wherever there is passion and vision, it's really easy for resources and other people to come alongside and so people are like, how do you work in fundraising all day? And I'm just like, I love what I do. And I believe in what we're doing. And so yes,
make it easier when you see the need and you believe in it with all of your heart. I think that's a really cool part of my job as well. So
yeah. So, I'm still learning about human trafficking. And I'm a new Oklahoman as well. And so what should someone like me know about how it impacts our community in particular?
Yeah, so I think that it's important. First of all, I appreciate that you're creating this conversation because this is a conversation we need to have here in Oklahoma. I do think that we need to take some time and really do some work on our own, some research on our own to learn what trafficking really looks like here so that we can prevent it. But I would say that trafficking impacts our community in so many different ways, on a micro level, on a macro level. And so it affects things like our healthcare system, right? It overlaps with so many other issues that we have in our state, like our rate of incarceration, mental health issues, substance use issues, homelessness. And so we have to really realize that human trafficking can be a symptom of these much larger issues that we have in our state. And then we have, of course, the impact on the individual survivor. And of course, every survivor is very different. Their experience is different. But speaking generally, being sold for sex every single day for 10 years, which is common for a lot of people that we serve, that impacts your body, your reproductive system. It impacts your dental health, your nervous system, psychologically, spiritually. It impacts you because you're being sold as a product. And so here we have examples of that macro and micro level impact. And none of it is anything that we can really tolerate in our state or should tolerate.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, you know, when I'm learning about this new work that we're doing at Upward Transitions and the work that we're now doing in partnership with you to aid victim survivors, you know, people are really shocked that this is happening right here. You know, not only in Oklahoma, but in Oklahoma City and in our county. And so what can you tell us specifically about the human trafficking situation here in Oklahoma?
Yeah, well, first I'll say that I think I believe that about 10 years ago when I was getting into this work, and I was so drawn to Africa because it made sense to me. And trafficking looks so different in other countries than it does here in the United States, and it looks different in Oklahoma. So when I got into this and you start hearing survivor stories, you start hearing of how traffickers took advantage of them. There were so many commonalities in that. So traffickers often take advantage of things like homelessness, teens who might run away from home or abusive situations, and traffickers might say, I have a place for you to stay. What that person doesn't know is that they want to exploit them for sex or even perhaps labor. We have an issue in Oklahoma where family members, spouses, intimate partners are actually selling people that they're supposed to love and protect for money, to support a drug addiction, to pay for rent. And then we have a gang issue in Oklahoma City too. So naturally, in business, these gangs already have the means to sell weapons and drugs. And so they're really essentially diversifying what they're selling by selling humans. Humans are lower risk, higher reward. And so we see a lot of different kinds of trafficking. Those are some common different kind of ways that we see sex trafficking happen. And we also see labor trafficking happening all across our state. In agricultural settings, construction, hospitality, people who are literally slaves working in Oklahoma being exploited.
So what should the everyday Oklahoman do? How can we be an advocate? How can we be a knowledgeable citizen when it comes to human trafficking?
I have so much. I have so much homework for everybody.
Okay, give it to us.
I'm just kidding. I think that we're in a very interesting time. So what I notice as somebody who's been on the front lines for several years of this, and I've heard thousands of survivor stories, is that so much of what is circulated on social media or sometimes in the news is not representative of what we see here in Oklahoma. And so my thing is, if we think trafficking looks one way, when really it looks another way in our community, we're not able to protect individuals who might be vulnerable to being trafficked. We're not able to protect our children. We're not able to identify people who might need help, and they're not getting the help they need because we can't identify them.
Right.
One thing that's a little bit different about trafficking is that so many survivors don't know that they're trafficking victim survivors. So it's up to people on the front lines in the community to identify this crime. So I would say that check out the Dragonfly website for good information on trafficking, so you know what it looks like here in Oklahoma. There are other resources that I could send you, and we could maybe possibly link in the messages. But the National Human Trafficking Resource Center is a good one to check out. Good, solid information. I think those are good places to start. And then please support organizations who are doing the work here in Oklahoma. I can't reiterate enough that the people we serve, they often come to us without anything at all. They have nothing and they need everything. And that's very real resources. So we need support from Oklahomans so that we can provide these resources and meet the ever increasing need of these survivors.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that we're so excited about this new partnership, is because one of our mantras at Upward Transitions is that we don't do this alone. Yes. You all bring, the expertise of what this looks like in Oklahoma. And we bring the expertise of, navigating the housing situation, and the city of Oklahoma, brings the unique resources that city government has. And, we're marrying them all together to help these victim survivors as they transition out of this situation into hopefully healing and the next step in their lives. And so that's what makes us really excited, is that we're pulling all of these pieces together.
So yeah, I'm thrilled about this all-star team that we have going, if I may say so myself.
Yes.
But we always say at Dragonfly, we know that in years of doing this work, this is a very complex crime and it requires a complex solution. So we can't stand alone in this work at Dragonfly, and we have relied on our partnership with you all for a long time. The City of Oklahoma City's support as well, and we're going to give this problem a real solution. That's what it requires to tackle it effectively. So this is how we do it, and I'm excited about it.
Yes. So is there anything else? If my question that I always ask people, if somebody, didn't know about human trafficking or didn't know about the Dragonfly Home and you met them on the street, what's the first thing you would tell them?
Yeah, I would just say that this is a problem that really happens here in Oklahoma. It happens all too often. It's prevalent. Remind them to do a little bit of their homework and say that it impacts all of us. If it impacts one of us, it essentially impacts all of us. But I think one of the encouraging pieces of this that I'd like to leave with individuals is, it seems like a big, daunting issue. It seems almost impossible when you look at the numbers. But in my experience, I feel like everybody has this talent, skill, resource that can be helpful in this fight against trafficking. So I think it's almost empowering to know that we all can help in this, that we all have some kind of solution.
I like a bit of hope. I like a bit of.
We thrive off of. We have to have that in this really hard work.
That's right. That's right. Well, Whitney, I appreciate you taking the time to share with us today. And again, I'm super excited about this work that we're doing together. And I know it's going to transform lives and make a really positive difference in our community. So
I agree. Thank you for having me.
Everybody, thanks for joining us today. And you can always learn more about the Dragonfly Home by going to their website. I put the link in the comments. And we just hope you'll join us again for A Moment of Hope with Upward Transitions. Have a great day.
Hi.